On Wednesday last week, I was in the home of a very close friend and her husband, both of whom were assassinated on May the 24th. Both are arts educators, both live in an Amazonian community, and both were assassinated for protecting the forests and the rivers of the Amazon, and not protecting the Amazon through force, not protecting the Amazon through discourse or rhetoric, but protecting through their use of dance, their use of sculpture, their use of music and of theatre as a way of learning and as a way of developing with all generations, particularly to develop literacy, but literacy for transformation. And I was with them I was with their community and with their schools on Wednesday, and interestingly, I was with the national force, the national police force of the most heavily armed and most sophisticated captains and officers within the police force. And that police force was protecting us because the situation remains very, very dangerous, and everybody inside that community are very vulnerable. But interestingly, inside the dance workshop, drama workshop, and storytelling workshop through dance and through music that we gave, the police gradually relaxed their arms and began to sing and to dance, fully armed and fully dressed in uniform. They began to dance and began to recover the memory inside their skin, the imagination inside their heart, but recover those dimensions that are violated deliberately in order to enable them to do the repressive and preventative work that they do. That was Wednesday. On Thursday, I went to the capital of Brazil, the political capital, the federal government's location in Brasilia. And I spoke to the Minister of Culture, and I spoke to other people about how to recover popular culture, whether it be indigenous, whether it be African, whether it be river cultures, forest cultures, urban cultures, the cultures of the excluded as well as the cultures of the included. But the recovery of those popular cultures as a way of rebuilding community, particularly for young people whose minds and whose visceral memory and imaginative capacity are all being destroyed by crack. Those are the young people that I work with inside the Amazonian community of cabelo seco, or dry hair. And you may be able to see in these photographs some of these people, some of these young people rehearsing, writing their own songs based on the historical musical culture and based on the recovery of musical memory, whether it be their own memory or the memory of their community, as a way of recovering self-esteem and the confidence to recover and then to intervene inside their own streets and their own homes. And on Thursday, on that Thursday, I was talking both to ministers and to leading politicians about the need, not just for the recovery and the affirmation of historical artistic cultures, but also to enable young people to become not only artists, but also cultural organizers capable at 9, 10, 11, 12 years of age of generating solidarity and cooperation and hope in practice, not through speech, through their artistic work in order to rebuild their communities. That was on Thursday. in Brasilia. And then I went home to the Amazonian community where I live. That community is an urban community, the oldest community of the city of Marabá, which has become the cradle of the industrialization of the Amazon. When I say the industrialization of the Amazon, I mean the transformation of the rivers and the wind and the remarkable resources, mineral resources, medicinal resources, herbal resources, transformation of all of those resources into an accelerated economic developmental plan which will unbalance, disturb and threaten the future of every single person on the planet. I went back to that community, went to sleep at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and woke up at 6:30 to discover that everything that I own, this computer, other computers, a camera, a PowerPoint projector, mobile phones, everything that I and my partner and our community organization owns had been stolen. And at 7 o'clock in the morning I went into the street, very, very concerned, primarily not by the theft of the technology, but by the loss of 25 years, 30 years of photographic memory, which tells so many stories of hope and of surviving conflict, transforming conflict, and creating new stories to create new communities. So I was extremely concerned that the hard drive had been stolen with all of our photographic archives. But gradually over the day, I resisted the strong pressure from a community battling to survive its own young people's dependency on crack and desperate to acquire consumer status and consumer rights rather than to recover its own human rights and to build its own culture. I resisted the pressure on me to call the national police force, the military police, the police that execute young people every single day inside our city as a way of cleaning the streets, and instead gradually brought the families together to identify who had broken into my home while I was sleeping and who had emptied our home of its memory and of the capacity to talk to you like I am today. And gradually we were able to identify the people who had broken into our home, climbing through the roof of our home while we slept. And slowly we managed to talk with these people as the effects of crack wore off. And were able to, people who had no sense of humiliation or shame or conscience in their eyes, but people who, through conversation and through affirmation, began to imagine a different kind of day, a different kind of future. All of the technology that was stolen was returned to us. I think in the first time in the history of that community, all of the technology was recovered to us, returned to us by the young people. And then we brought the young people together who had been accusing the other, the 3 young people, each accusing the other of being responsible for the violation of our home and of our own humanity. Brought them together and gradually established, if you want, an ethical foundation for rebuilding confidence between them and with us, and then for going to the community to talk to the community about gradually establishing that kind of ethical confidence, that kind of mutual self-respect in a larger space. Now that's really deeply touched all of us, that experience of recovering everything from the people who had stolen everything that we have. was really remarkable. And for the community, this created, if you want, an even deeper respect for an alternative proposal, which is not based on words, but based on dance and based on music. And I speak about dance and I speak about music as the primary human languages that we acquire in the womb, and which are then, of course, marginalized in school and in education, so that people become so shy about their capacity to dance or to sing that they need to drink or they need to smoke crack and cocaine in order just to be able to communicate and to have a sense of their own identity, their own self, their own humanity. But I speak about that because I think in front of you, you have one of the few images that I've been able to send over on time, which is the site of massacre in the heart of the Amazon. I'm talking about the Amazon as a place, but I also am speaking about it as a key dimension and resource in the humanity of the world. And there you can see a theatre made of 19 burnt Brazil nut trees, but a theatre that symbolizes the potential of people to heal themselves in order to create a new humanity. You can see 19 trees that are the remnants of millions of burnt trees as part of the accelerating destruction of the Amazon, the clearance of the Amazon to create space for rapidly expanding cities and accelerating production of meats, of different kinds of woods that can be exported to China, etc., etc. But the industrialization of the Amazon, you can see the 19 trees that represent the 19 burnt, violated, and assassinated bodies of young people and their fathers. There's an unmarked, anonymous, concealed grave of the women and children that died in this massacre in 1996. But the community that survived created this symbol out of the most intimate object that they know, the castanha, the Brazil nut tree, that they planted and cared for and harvested in order to survive. You're looking at a monument, you can see me in the picture, that's 10 meters tall, 25 meters wide, and has the shape of the map of Brazil. But what you're also looking at is an anti-monumental monument. That's to say, a monument that will gradually disintegrate, and in disintegrating will nourish and stimulate the emergence of new castanheira, new Brazil nut trees, and a new forest. But fundamentally what you're looking at is not just a symbolic or aesthetic representation of tragedy and the potential for people to transform themselves by telling stories and then making a new story. You're looking at a theatre. And I speak about a theatre because the public, one of the most interesting aspects of our work is to transform the theatrical power of all public space, which can be so easily mobilized to be used to judge and to inhibit and to humiliate, into a space of human rights where people democratize that theatrical power and turn the collective gaze of an imagined audience, be it an audience from the future, or an imagined audience, be it an audience of ancestors from the past, or a present audience, that's to say an audience of a community, be it a physical community or a dispersed community or a virtual community, to transform that collective gaze that amplifies the power of any gesture and the voice or the movement of any person who steps onto stage into an enabling social power, a power that enables people to confidently perform, whether it be in the collective theatrical space of the classroom or the home or the street or any workplace. If you want, democratizing the theatrical power of all public space that is abused in all of the living spaces that we inhabit, usually as a power to silence, to humiliate, and to inhibit. So you're looking at, in this sculpture, a piece of work that has been created by more than 800 survivors from a massacre, where they tell their stories through an intimate object that is a part of their own history, identity, political unconscious, and sensitivity. But they transform that violated symbol, or symbol of violation, into a theatre of healing and into the creating of a new story. And I conclude by saying this space may be used, as we use it, for the creating, the training, the developing of new popular educators, of new teachers. So it's a school which you're looking at, but you're also looking at a school which places the highest value on dance and music. That's because music is, or musicality is, the foundation of all human identity and all human learning. We are born with that musicality developed, both as a language that explains and represents the world of the womb, but also the environment of the mother. And with that foundation, we learn to speak. But we learn to speak singing and dancing, because we learn through rhythm and through the capacity to move in rhythm. The rhythm of the mother, the rhythm of the heart, the rhythm of all the songs that are mapped and internalized within the memory of the fetus. We are born with a capacity to learn to walk by dancing. So the capacity to speak and the capacity to be independent in our movement is based in music and in dance. And by using music and dance as we do, we are also able to touch the memory in the skin and the imagination in the heart, to transform memory of violation, of humiliation, of complicity, of aggression, and to transform those memories into other musical and dance narratives. It's the only way that I know, after more than 35 years of work within conflicted and excluded and privileged communities, it's the only way that I know of transforming the memory that has been internalized into muscular forms and into reflexes or gestures that reproduce the past and the future. The only way of transforming that knowledge into new narratives and new human relations based on the capacity to create a different dance and a different song. So I'm not idealizing the arts. I'm talking about the arts, those particularly the arts which are not so vulnerable to self-censorship and censorship, the arts of dance and of song. I'm talking about the use of those performing languages, or the languages which enable us to perform our humanity as the potential for creating new community and the creating of new confidence to develop in a collective process a different kind of world. I go back to the very beginning to conclude. On Wednesday, I was in a community that had suffered the assassination of 2 arts educators. On Thursday, I was in government. addressing ministers and politicians, inviting them to enlarge their understanding of the arts and of education and pedagogy. And on Friday, I was inside my own community, practicing this vision, not through a workshop, but transforming the confidence of the community to look to itself to solve any social, human, and intimate violations, rather than to look to the police or to the army or to those they elect every few years. The sculpture that you see in front of you is in the place of El Dorado, in the south of the northern state of Pará, the cradle of the industrialization of the Amazon. And I hope this conversation, my brief presentation, gives you some insight, not just into what's happening in the Amazon, where young people are aware now of their global as well as their intimate responsibilities, but also gives you an idea of potential resources that every human being possesses in order to build sustainable communities. Many thanks.
And just say, wow, thank you, and would it be faster for you to see us well?
Yes, he's hearing us. Please, Linda, could you thank him?
Yeah.
I tried to put my camera on.
Yeah.
Wait.
Woo!
No, I will.
You hold the camera?
Yes.
Dan, we are so thankful. You can't imagine how inspiring your story is and the work that you're doing, and reminding us that music and the arts are a primary language and a vehicle for reversing the dynamics of humiliation that disrupts the relationships in people's lives on a global level. And I should say that many of us that are in the arts and in music in this room that have a deep sense of resonance with your words and your story and your message. I have a background in music. That's always been a foundation for me in thinking about how we can collaborate with our great diversity in a constructive way. And I know we have a couple of people that would like to say a few words for you, so I will gladly, if Carmen, did you want to say something? Oh, Michelle, do you want to say something?
Please come.
Dan. Hello, Dan. It's just wonderful to hear your beautiful, soft voice speak from such depth and clarity. I want to Carmen, who I think it would be lovely for you to respond to you. Carmen and I have been working on holistic ways of being and presenting those, really the legal or any academic forum.
into the more top-heavy side of our paradigms of how systems in our modern world, and bring the perspective in a way that they can hear. So I'd like to introduce Carmen, who's a Maori from New Zealand, from Aotearoa. And okay, yeah, and I'd like to say a few words before we pass you through.
Yeah, and Kevin Clements, I would also just like to reiterate what Linda and others have said. You've got no idea how your comments synchronize perfectly with the conversation we've been having earlier, which was around how do we discover a kind of is below and beneath the kinds of words that we use to describe.
Thank you.
And it's very strange because at the end of that conversation I was going to sort of talk the aesthetic and the art and the role of theatre and music and represent and the visual arts in that process, and you did it perfectly. And I just sort of want to also acknowledge your courage and to articulate what you're doing, because about the program here emancipatory partnerships with those in the kinds of struggles that you're talking about, such that the outsiders do not overwhelm, and so that the insiders begin the solution of their own problems. And it seems to me that your those who are at the kind of crucible of this kind of exploitation is absolutely exemplary. I mean, you've given us a model that we can aspire to in terms of how to provide radical accompaniment in ways that enable those who are there to discern the answer to their own problems. I love your notion about the memory of your, I'm not exactly sure how you describe it, but the memory that lies in the skin.
Advocate against Caravai and Ivai Dancer, really.
About joys and our triumphs and our sadness and desolation. And anyway, I think really helpful. What we were doing earlier, so very
Tawana. Zay.
Thank you.
Kia ora. What I'd like to share with you, and he spoke of memory being in the skin. Well, those are the beliefs of my people here, the indigenous people of Aotearoa, Tangata Whenua, the Māori, and what we believe is that our characters, or our spirit, so
Instruments, he has instruments.
and so what I wanted to do to honour what
I'm really touched. The image is far behind the sound. The sound was extraordinary. Thank you.
We have a dance called the haka. Ka is to ignite the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God is called the heart. It's the breath of life that we share. And what I wanted to do was to haka that talks about the creation. The creation out there is formed. Our Creator took from the earth and shaped the first man, and took from inside the bone that created the first woman. Over the woman, from the taken from the bone to his heart, and that's our connection to all mankind. So I want to honour you with this haka. It's called Pūtanga. Yeah, and that's all good because we have a prayer that says ko te mumu, ko te awha. Because what we say, the power of God is manifest through tsunamis, through whirlwinds, it's the Spirit of God.
Well, let me just say very briefly, thank you very much for this opportunity to hear your responses, and I hope that some of what I shared can become a foundation for us to work together in the future. I have never done this kind of dialogue. I never participated in a dialogue at such a huge distance, which has been so effective, you know. So I just hope that we can turn this into a kind of platform for thinking about collaborating in the future. And just to say two final details. The first is that I am very aware of how dangerous the situation is in the Amazon at the moment. And I really hope that through perhaps a few emails we can think about how your networks can strengthen the lives and the culture. I'm showing you just a little bit of the culture here. Ancient culture, which I know the Maori culture would understand and recognise quite quickly. But I really hope that we can look at ways of making not just the Amazon but the world a much safer place. And the last point, I'm very conscious that there is a really naive discourse about the arts. Now I just want to be very clear that when I speak to you about these different dimensions, I don't believe that the arts are themselves a solution, but I believe that without the arts as the foundation of all of our education and all of our community work, we don't have a chance. Many thanks and have a wonderful day today. I know here it's getting late. Have a great day. Good luck, Michael. And have a lovely day tomorrow. I look forward to talking by email. Good luck, everyone. Thanks. Bye.
Kia ora.
Dan, we want to recognize how wonderful it is to be with you. We've been fighting our technology, but right now I'm sitting here going, thanking the technology gods that allow us to connect across this huge difference and to hear this such a powerful story. I think both Evelyn and I are on the verge of tears because it's so touching. And then to have a special gift from Carmen to you from here in New Zealand is just beyond words. It's beyond words. I think we're just taking a moment to really recognize how special this sacred moment for us. So I know that I want you to stay safe. You said you were having a storm, and I would like to just give you the final words today before we sign off. Or I hope you can stay with us. Maybe you can stay with us a little bit longer, but I want to give it over to you to have any final words or comments that you'd like to share. But from all of us here in New Zealand, please know that we are deeply inspired by your story and the work that you're doing and the courage and the transformation that you're creating in the world through music and dance. It's really inspiring. Thank you so much. Evelyn?
Okay. Jane? What's my track?